We're here in Paw Paw, West Virginia. Towards the end of April, Colonel Campbell adjusted the positions of a few of his companies. Captain John Height's Company B moved here to Paw Paw, Virginia to guard the B&O's tunnel through the Paw Paw Ridge, which is just up the Lowline Road here. That's the track of the old B&O Railroad. And they also guarded this depot here in town. The move also reduced the amount of area Company K guarded, alleviating some of the concerns that the men expressed earlier to Colonel Campbell. Private Samuel Hammer wrote from his company's new positions at Paw Paw, "I like this place better than any place I've been yet, though it is a bad place for the fever, with the river bottom just on the opposite side of the depot here." We're going to walk up the Lowline Road and show you where the railroad tunnel was and continue this video here in a minute. All right, we're further up the Lowline Road, what would have been the rail line of the B&O Railroad during the Civil War, and we are at the mouth of where the Paw Paw Tunnel would have been during the Civil War. So in addition to the depot that we looked at earlier, Company B was also tasked with guarding this tunnel. So the area around Paw Paw remained relatively quiet until October 2nd, 1862. As the men ate their breakfasts that day, they heard the sound of gunfire and could see smoke rising in the sky from Company K's position. Two separate reports confirmed the Confederate cavalry had attacked Company K. Captain Height believed Company B faced 500 Confederate cavalrymen. He called the other company officers together to discuss a course of action. Sergeant Joseph Peck recalled of the conference. Some were in favor of retreating across the river into Maryland. Others announced it as cowardly and would hear nothing but fight. Captain Height considered the opinions of his men and asked, "Boys, will you fight or retreat?" Private John Spangler later told Colonel Campbell, "We all said fight." We were then marched into the rifle pit. While his men waited in a long trench-like rifle pit located along the Potomac River's floodplain a few hundred yards west of the tunnel, Captain Height told the men, "Boys, if you fire, take good aim for the head." So the rifle pits would have been just on the other side of this small embankment. You can see the Potomac River down below us. Colonel Imboden sent a second detachment of his Confederate cavalry down the towpath of the C&O Canal on the Maryland side of the Potomac, but ordered them to cross the river and head for Company B's positions. Simultaneously, a regiment of Confederate infantry moved towards Company B's defenses from the south. Colonel Imboden ordered the prisoners of Company K to form a line at a distance behind his men in order to deceive Captain Height of his true numbers. Confederate infantry marched from a hill down into a meadow and formed in line of battle between 400 and 500 yards from Company B's rifle pits and more up towards where the depot was. Short time later, the Confederates carried out a ruse and appeared to unlimber two artillery pieces on a hill overlooking Company B's positions, would be able to shell the rifle pits. Confederate infantry closed within a few hundred yards and immediately surrounded Company B. Sergeant Peck wrote, "A few officers came up under a flag of truce and demanded a surrender. Captain Height, Lieutenant John Cole, and Lieutenant Henry Bear left the works to meet the Confederates. The men in Company B watched anxiously as their officers met. Private Spangler noted there were between 200 and 300 infantry. Additionally, approximately 100 cavalry sat their horses on a hill about a half a mile from the Federal position. The three officers met with Colonel Imboden approximately 100 to 200 yards from the entrenchments. The colonel threatened the officers, saying if they refused to surrender, I would open a battery on him and put every man in the fort to death under the law of war for refusing to surrender to an overwhelming force that he could not resist. Captain Height inquired of the terms of surrender, and Colonel Imboden responded, the surrender must be unconditional. Captain Height pondered the hard terms, but seeing the hopelessness of the situation, agreed to surrender and handed Colonel Imboden his sword. Captain Height surrendered his company of 93 men and officers, saying it was useless to slaughter men under the circumstances. Captain Height ordered the men out of the rifle pits, marched them a short distance, and ordered them to stack arms. Private Spangler later recalled, "We did so and found out that we were prisoners. Our officers then went to their quarters and began to get their things ready. I heard Captain Height say, 'It's a damned shame.'" Lieutenant Cole seemed to be in a bad humor, and Lieutenant Bear did not seem to be well leased. Nobody said anything. Thank you for watching this episode of In the Footsteps of the 54th.